All right. Yay! So thank you everybody for coming to the new NJ Environmental Fundraisers Gathering. So appreciate it. And we have here Lynne Wester from Donor Relations Guru. And today, lots of conversation around loyal donors. Lynne, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here with you all today. And I love the work that you do and think it's so very important. And Lauren and I were talking about gratitude and how we could help each other. And so we have a nice small group. If you don't mind, I'd love to hear maybe your first name, what your role is, and what organization you represent really quickly. I'm going to start with Linda.
I am the Director of Outreach and Development for the Ridge and Valley Conservancy, which is a very small land trust, accredited land trust in Northwest New Jersey.
Fantastic. Karen?
Sure, I'm Karen Dorfer. I'm the Communications and Development Associate for the Musconetcong Watershed Association, and we're also a small group on the Musconetcong River in New Jersey.
Very nice, thanks. Brielle?
Hi everyone, Brielle Olshan, Director of Membership and Administration at the New Jersey Highlands Coalition.
Very nice. Dawn?
Hi, I'm Don from the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, and I'm the Director of Donor Advising.
Nice. Erica?
Hi, my name is Erica Kalachi. I'm the Assistant Development Director at the New Jersey Conservation Foundation.
Fantastic. Lori?
I'm Lori Cleveland. I'm the Executive Director of the Sourland Conservancy.
Great. Jonathan?
Hi, Jonathan Muir, Director of Development for Monmouth Conservation Foundation.
Okay. Amanda?
Hi, everyone. Amanda Brockwell with the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions. I'm the development director there.
And Jonathan is waving at you adamantly, so
Hi,
make sure you
Jonathan.
wave back.
I recently left Monmouth Conservation Foundation, so it's nice to see Jonathan.
And he's still waving and smiling at you. Isn't that nice?
It's a good sign.
Yeah, I thought he might wave with a different finger, but he gave you the whole hand and everything, not just the New Jersey hello. So that's good. Allison, are you out there?
Yep, this is Allison Deeb. I'm with the Whippany River Watershed. We're a small nonprofit, 12 towns or so in Morris County, and I'm the facilitator there.
Oh, fantastic. And I think we have someone joining us by phone.
Hi, this is Denise Lanza. I'm sorry, I'm not in the office, so I'm going to be on the phone today. I'm the Executive Director of the Alliance for Morris County Parks, and I work for the Morris County Park Commission.
You could just say you're out in the park, Denise, you know, enjoying nature. So
yeah, that would be nice.
Or you could be in Target, one of the two, you know, just that's totally fine.
Target, yeah.
Exactly. Tarjay, I'm Lynne Wester. I run a company called the Donor Relations Guru. I've been working in fundraising for about 21 years. Lauren and I have been connected through many different means. And I have a client in land trust, land preservation called the Maine Coast Heritage Trust. And they preserve land in Maine on the coast. It's called the Maine Coast Heritage Trust. And I've learned a lot about your world, but I have a lot to learn. So if I misstep or if I misspeak, just hop in and be like, that's not true, but we should be fine because we're going to talk about gratitude today, which is something I know a lot about. So welcome, Jonathan. Okay. All right. You should be able to see some slides now. Yeah, we're all good. Okay. That's always the fun part after 2 years of spending your life Zooming, whether or not the technology is going to work that day or not. You know, I'm sure you all have seen those memes about how it's been over 2 years. So we're going to talk a little bit about thanking, donor recognition, and loyalty, and how you can bring some simple ideas to your organization. Just places to start, places to think about. So if you Google donor success or fundraising success and you hit images, this is what pops up on your Google screen sometimes. These are the good old fashioned Happy Gilmore checks for those of you who remember Happy Gilmore and the fact that he and Bob Barker got in a fist fight, and that was like the best day ever. Some of you are laughing. Some of you are like, what is going on? Pop culture references and are going to be pervasive here. But if this equates to fundraising success, a lot of donors don't necessarily see themselves in the big check presentations, or this doesn't really represent all that fundraising is. This may be the culmination of a lot of work, but, you know, not really everything that goes on in our world. And, you know, we really need to think about that holistically. This is probably a very good representation of our work, in that this is through AFP's fundraising effectiveness project, our retention rates for our donors at our organizations. Now, these are the national averages. Some of you may or may not be using retention rates to measure your success. I will tell you that as a person that works with lots of different organizations, this is the number one indicator of their long-term success, whether or not they can keep and hold on to their donors. And so you'll notice that first-time donor retention is only 23%. So we lose 8 out of 10 of our donors after they make their first gift. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today, how we can help fix that. But if you look over on the right-hand side, monthly donors, we retain at a 90% rate. So if you haven't already, if you don't have the infrastructure yet, run to your monthly giving. Establish a great monthly giving or recurring giving program at your organization. At the Maine Coast Heritage Trust, we call them the anchors. They anchor the coast, and it's recurring giving is not just the wave of the future, it's the now. It's how, you know, if you think about our lives, that's how you pay almost all of your bills in monthly installments. You know, I am probably signed up for way too many things monthly that I don't even know about, that just hit my credit cards or hit my bank account. But if you can get donors to sign up monthly, they will give and they don't stop giving usually. So a really, really good thing for retention. So even if you shifted 10% of your donor base from one-time gifts to loyal recurring giving, that's going to be my first tip for you. So make sure that whatever website software you're using allows for recurring gifts, whatever purchasing you're allowed, you know, whatever authorize.net or whatever credit card processor allows for recurring giving, because it is the largest growing segment, and it's a great way to provide sustaining revenue for you. And to not have donors leave your organization is to get them to sign up for monthly giving. I forgot to mention, we're recording this. You'll receive these slides afterwards. And if at any time you have a question, you can either raise a hand. If I don't see it, pop in the chat, unmute yourself, scream, holler, whatever you'd like to do. I don't know. Just don't set anything on fire today. That'd be good. So most donors leave our organizations after the first gift because the reality of their giving experience does not meet their expectations. Some of you have had this experience where you've brought a photo to someone and said, maybe look like this, and then you leave looking like Lord Farquaad. That's happened to me a couple of times in my career. I know, Dawn, it's happened to you there with those lovely locks, you know, just happens sometimes. But we don't meet donors' expectations. We spell their name wrong. We ask them for money too often. We don't talk to them after we get a gift from them. We talk to them too much. We make a mistake. We tell them all about our organization and not about their gift. Or we make lots of different choices in our communications. And the biggest one is that we don't spend enough time in gratitude telling donors thank you. And it's hard. You're not at large organizations that have these big mechanisms to thank people, but it is the single most important thing you can do for your donors. Because if you look at this, and this is from, if you haven't yet read Penelope Burke's Donor-Centered Fundraising, it's B-U-R-K, it's her last name. You can find it on Amazon or at your local bookseller, whichever you prefer. And she wrote Donor-Centered Fundraising. And 85% of our donors don't get what they need from us in order to give again. They need two things. They need to be thanked, and they need to be told what their money did. So thank you for your gift, and here's what your money did. Whether it was commingled with other people's money and did something large, did something small. And this whole idea of reporting back impact and gratitude has increased as our younger generations are coming on board. The more diverse, the younger populations say, that's lovely, I trust you sort of, but I need to know what you did with my money. And that is really something that we have to lean into. And this is one that'll, for those of you that are at really one person or two people shops, donors expect to be thanked 7 times before you ask them for more money. 7 times before you ask them for more money. Yep, Lauren's posted the link to the book for you if you'd like to have it as well. So we have work to do, but we want to make sure we're doing the right work. So you don't need to give them plaques or tchotchkes, or the nice thing is you all are in the nature world. So you're not giving out plastic coasters and, coffee mugs and all that good stuff. But you don't need to place them in a giving society and call them bronze, pewter, any of that stuff. What we really need is to express gratitude and then tell them what their money did sincerely and earnestly. So here's what donors need from us, and then here's what they want from us. So every human has needs and wants. And so the needs of a donor are transparency, accountability, and gratitude. So what did you do with my money? How did you spend it? And thank me for it. And then the wants are pretty basic: access, information, and experience. And they want access to the people, or in your case, the land that benefits from their support, or the program managers, or the stewards, the people that are taking care of it. They want information about how their gift was used. And they want experiences that money can't buy. And now, well, pre-pandemic, we used to do that in versions of events or outdoors. And I think we will start getting back to that as people feel more comfortable gathering, being together. Notice nowhere on there is, wine and cheese. Nowhere on there is a keychain or anything else like that. It's pretty simple and it's pretty universal what donors tell us about their needs and their wants. So we get to be thoughtful about being thankful. And you all are going, well, that's nice, lady, but I got 70 other jobs to do. And I wear 6 hats at my organization. And why should I spend time and money on this? Because the longer you keep a donor, the more value they will have in your database. And it's cheaper to keep the donor you have than it is to go and acquire a new one. There's a finite amount of giving people in the world. In the United States, about 60% of people give. So 6 in 10 people give. 4 in 10 people, it doesn't matter if you did the Sarah McLachlan commercial with a puppy riding a dolphin during a hurricane, starving, they would be like, oh, that sucks. Charity begins at home, and they would not give to you. So you got to let them go, bless them and release them. But those 60%, you have to think about them, and you have to think that you have a finite group of people that care about your cause. And so it's 7 times cheaper to keep the donor you have happy than it is go get a new one. So acquisition is much more expensive than retention. And acquisition and thanking doesn't have to cost you a ton of money. There's lots of channels you can thank your donors. This is an example from Team Rubicon. So I discovered them. I was living in Texas and we had a big hurricane hit. And I asked on Facebook, who should I support? And they said, there's this new group in Texas doing great work. Team Rubicon is a disaster relief organization, and they have about 70,000 volunteers that go in during disasters and help people. And all of their volunteers are retired or former or active US military. So they get people together from all walks of the military, and they volunteer during really tough times. So fires, hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, all that stuff. They're on the ground usually the same day the disaster hits. But I gave a donation, and they sent me these really great text messages saying thank you. I could imagine that as you all are out on the land or somewhere like that, you could have stewards or someone send you back a photo. You could send a simple text message to lots of people. There is software for that, but you can also do it yourself online with a computer. It's pretty easy to do as well. So lots of different ways to thank your donor. And the way in which a donor gives is their preference for the way they want to receive communications. So when I received this, I had made my gift on my phone. So obviously texting was a good idea. If I had mailed you a check, probably not a good fit to text me as much as, write me a handwritten note or mail me a letter. They sent me stories like this of people who had volunteered and their experiences in Team Rubicon. So simple emails of, hey, here's what I was able to do. Here's the story from volunteer point of view, from staff point of view. Doesn't matter, just different areas, different people's perspectives. But one of the most powerful things they did, and one of the things I can recommend for you, is we have a Team Rubicon volunteer. Oh, you're not military and you get to volunteer with them. How fantastic of you. Ooh, tell me more.
So it might be easier. So this is Rochelle. I volunteer with them. They have been doing a lot since August or September with the Afghan refugees, not refugees, the resettlement of Afghan citizens I'm in New Jersey, obviously we're all in New Jersey. So at McGuire Air Force Base. And it's a really cool organization. And I've used them with the stuff that I get. They are a great example of how to communicate with both volunteers and donors, because I've been both.
That's awesome.
And when you volunteer, every time you volunteer afterwards, it's kind of fun because they treat you as if you're military, even if you're not. And so you get sort of these military orders. But it's great. They follow up and ask what they could have done better and what went well, and do you have any feedback? And it's very engaging.
Yeah. So I was going to say that my favorite thing about them is they actually ask what I think as a donor. So I'm a member of their support squad. I give money every month. And this survey blew me away. I've worked for very large organizations, very small organizations, and its elegance and its simplicity about how often do you tell you what's going on? How do you want to receive it? And what content is meaningful for you? For me, was just really powerful. And so if you can in any way, ask your donors their preferences and then record them or listen to their feedback. It certainly is a fantastic way to engage with your participants. So I highly recommend feedback. That's a great way to thank someone, is to ask them their opinion. There's this old adage in fundraising: if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money. So it's a great way to engage your donors. And it sounds like they also do this with their volunteers. Again, if you want to see a wonderful donor journey, donor path, thanking donors, Team Rubicon's a great example of an attitude of gratitude. So our donor bases are changing. When I got started, my donor base was what I call pale, male, and stale. They were older white men who gave all the money away, and that has changed. Women now give 76% of the giving decisions in this country, either jointly or with their spouse. Diverse donors are leaning in great numbers, always have been there, but are leaning into and our Generation Z, not millennials who are in their 30s, but those in their 20s, actually are giving more at this point proportionately than any other generation. They just don't have capacity yet. So they're giving more frequently, they're leaning into causes, they're getting more socially aware, much more so than any generation since the silent generation. So, but those populations give differently than our traditional donor base. Our traditional donor base tends to give comparatively and competitively, which is why we used to put walls up, or we'd put lists out there and say, you gave this amount. Gone are those days. Now it's, how do we give collaboratively and collectively? What is the power of doing this together rather than I'm better than you because I gave more money than you? So if you want to deter diverse and female donors, go ahead and post a list of your donors by amount, or get yourself a donor wall. Because what those say to young and diverse donors is, we have plenty of money, we don't need yours. Or we're good, and until you can give this amount of money, you're not really that great of a person. So instead, a lot of us are shifting away from dollar amount being the driver of our thanking, and much more toward behavior. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds with this while I chug some water, and this will explain why we're headed towards loyalty and behavior. So this really relates to what we call sacrificial giving in the business, right? I think all of us who've ever been in fundraising see people chasing money, chasing large donors, chasing, a big dollar amounts. And at some point we have that gut check when we get that check for $18 in the mail, or, that gift that was written in with a handwritten note that says, I hope this will help. And you get those humble donors. This is the case for recognizing loyal donors. And in fact, loyal donors are worth more to you over a lifetime than your big donors. So I'm going to challenge all of you to find out not who has given you the most amount of money, but who has given the longest consecutively to your nonprofit. If you should all know that person's name, find out how many years they've given to you, because I guarantee you, if and when they pass away, they will leave you in their estate plan. So loyal donors are your number one plan giving prospects as well. And so imagine if you did little things to recognize their loyalty. So this is an example from a YMCA that I work with. And it just says, this little swimmer was born the year you started giving to the Harris YMCA. This is for our 5-year donors. For 5 years, you've been a part of a community that believes everyone should learn to swim and be safe around the water. Your generosity to the YMCA annual campaign allows us to provide opportunities for all, regardless of their ability to pay. Not only have you helped ensure that one more child will learn how to be safe around water, you've helped develop confidence and create lifelong memories. Thank you for believing in our why and making a difference for 5 years. Imagine if you had a photo of a piece of land from 5 years ago, and then one from today, and said, over the last 5 years, this is how the land has adapted since it's been put in the trust, or, but recognizing loyalty and is so important to you. Businesses, for-profit businesses, innately understand that. So the businesses that treat loyal people the best, airlines and hotels. Pre-pandemic, I used to fly and stay in hotels 300 nights a year. Yeah. And now I stay in front of my computer screen 300 nights a year. When I needed something, Delta would take care of me because I was a very loyal Delta girl. And at one point, I spent a couple weeks without staying in a Marriott, and they literally sent me a message asking me if I was okay, because I hadn't stayed in a Marriott in 2 weeks. I literally think they thought I died, and they were like, she has not been here. Is everything okay? They checked in on me. And so when you think about loyalty, think about those two, or anybody that has a good loyalty program, that's you want to base yours on. This is a university that when you reach your 20th year of giving, you get a handwritten note from the president of the organization. So imagine to do some really nice touches. So I stole this idea, as all good ideas are stolen, because my mom and dad have had an American Express card for 50 something years. They're one of the OG, back when American Express was a piece of purple paper, my dad said, that you had in your wallet. So on the 50th anniversary of them having their American Express card, FedEx came to their door. They live in the middle of nowhere in the mountains in Georgia, and FedEx showed up, this big box, and in it was a bottle of champagne, 2 flutes from Tiffany and Company, 2 plane tickets to anywhere in the world, and a handwritten note from the CEO of American Express. It was 9:30 in the morning. My parents called me drunk because they had just drank the champagne. They were like, here, take the plane tickets. And all my mom could not get over was that she got a handwritten note from the CEO of American Express. And my mom is old school, so she was like making sure it was really written. So, you know, it was legit. So all this fancy stuff. And my parents were hung up on the fact that someone sent them a handwritten note. So think about that when you think about your loyal donors. Like they will do anything now for American, like they always were loyal to American Express. And American Express, even on the front of their card, it says a member cents, right? Does that say that on your receipts? Does it say donor cents? Like that's a little touch you could put on your communications, right? Letting people know. I'm trying to give you little things you could do. If you can't do this, it's a great thing to have your board do this. You could keep your board busy by having them write handwritten thank you notes, film videos, whatever you want to do. And this applies all kinds of places. So when I was working with the University of Tennessee and they were my client, I said, we all know who the biggest donor is. Let's go find the longest donor. We found this gem. Her name is Eugenia Curtis. She looks the same as in her yearbook photo as she did the day we met her. And she had been giving for 73 years consecutively when we met her to the university. She had never been visited. She had never had a gift officer assigned to her asking her for money. Just every year she put $25 or $30 or $50 in an envelope and mailed it in. Well, we featured her on the cover of the alumni magazine. She got to flip the coin at the Georgia game. We made her a star, whether she liked it or not. She got to meet Peyton Manning, which in Tennessee is like meeting Jesus. And so we turned her into a star. She's now on year 77 of giving consecutively. But until we found her, nobody was talking to her. Nobody said, oh my goodness. And here is this nurse who, you know, has loved her Rocky Top her whole life and is more dedicated than a donor who writes $1 million check. So I'm going to encourage you to go find your Eugenia, go find those stories, because also when a new donor is looking at your organization and you're highlighting somebody like Eugenia, I can be like Eugenia. I don't think I'll ever be like the guy with the big check. I don't have that kind of capacity, but I can relate to her. So thanking and showcasing her giving, that's where it's at. And here's why this is so important. So in America, those who are above $10 million in net worth give 1.3% of their income away. Those that are beneath the poverty line, that in America is $19,000 a year. So people who make less than $19,000 a year give 3.2% of their worth away. The poorer you are in America, the more likely you are to be a giver, to be charitable. Maybe not to a 501c3, right? Maybe to your neighbor down the street or to your church in a tithing, or, you know, you make up 2 pies instead of 1. But so we're always chasing those wealthy Americans. And what we need to realize is that generosity can be proportional. And so we need to make sure our thanking is proportional as well. Like when we see people making sacrificial gifts, we need to make sure that we sacrifice some of our time to let them know that they're important to us. So I pulled some of my examples from Maine because I thought you would like to see some of the things that they do that are different. than other things that I've received. I received this email. I give monthly because I want to be an anchor. But and the subject line of this email was Isla and Izzy, thank you. And I was like, who is Isla and Izzy? And so this was in fall of 2021, I received this. And it says, you know, just life is different these days. More people are getting outside than ever before. Thanks to you, they have places to go on the Maine coast. And then it tells me what happens when I give, right? People can come outside, and they've completed 10 conservation projects this year. They've been busier than ever. And then these kids thank me, and he does too. Really simple, right? This doesn't mean, like, it doesn't need a lot of juice. You could probably, like, if you did this twice a year, that would be awesome, right? A photo, you could do a video, you could do something simple. So I have another example from them too that I'm happy to share, but this is what we want to be talking about with our donors. This is from Blue Frog Group, and I just love it because it's an 8th grade Venn diagram. And when's the last time did you see a good Venn diagram? But on the left-hand side is things that your nonprofit wants to tell a donor. And then on the right-hand side are things that your donor wants to hear from a charity. So I'm going to pop quiz you all and ask you, what's the difference between the two sides? Pipe up or type in the chat. What's the difference between the two sides? Okay, Karen says what we do versus what you do for us. Linda says everyone wants to be talking about themselves. Okay, Lori says the left is about me, the right is about you. Okay, we're missing something big here. Keep going. What else? What else is the difference between the two sides? Together we solved a problem. Yep. Take a look at the language on the right and the language on the left. One is based in gratitude. So the language on the right is emotional. The language on the left is rational. So I'm going to give you a really big hint. Fundraising is 90% emotional and 10% rational. So as much as you can, impart emotion into your communications. Ration's good, but it doesn't raise money. If I can make a donor cry, their wallet will open like a magic key to their wallet. So lead with emotion, lead with gratitude. Don't lead with our mission statement is this. You want to do, here's how we make people feel. Here's what it means to take a big, deep breath of air. You know what I mean? Like, what are those things emotionally that you're trying to preserve? So, good one. Okay. Imagine this. So you probably all send out tax receipts to everybody who gives you a gift. But imagine if instead of a regular tax receipt, it sounded like this. It's a testament to your impact. It's a bill of sale for the good that you've inspired for people around the world. And we hope you are proud. That is what you want to hear. That is what you want to hear. Emotional words, humbled, proud, that you're a good person. We also know that you live longer, and you live 7 years longer when you give to charity than those who don't. So if you want to live forever, keep giving your money away. What do you do to get people on the first gift? So remember, we talked about we lose 80% of donors after their first gift. So what do we do to get them to stick around? It would be great if you had the time and the resources to create a first gift postcard or email. So in addition to your receipt and your thank you, can you send a postcard that says, hey, welcome to the family, welcome aboard, thanks for making your first gift. The reason I go postcards and not letters or any other type of communication, one, we live in an Instagram society. So if I can send you something that's visible, that you might hang on your fridge, or you might take a photo of and surprise and delight that you got in your inbox. Number two, they're cheap. So you can go to psprint.com or any one of those online printers, and you can get 5,000 postcards for under $100 printed. Here's the great thing about a first-time donor postcard. How many times do you have to redesign it? None. You only have to design it once. And on my website at donorrelationsguru.com, there's hundreds of for you to download and create your own. They're cheaper to mail, and they stand out in the mail. So it's not going to get hidden in an envelope, right? And it forces you to be a really good editor on the back. The hardest thing to write is short things, right? It's much easier when you can go on for pages and pages. But this is a really simple example. You could do this same thing in an email if you want. I just love a postcard. I love a postcard for its simplicity. You could do a beautiful scenic photo on the front. You could do kids enjoying, I don't know, whatever fits your mission, that's what you can do. The first time someone touched the ocean, that's, you know, part of the land that you preserve or something like that, right? But the whole idea here is that you're sending a whole separate communication based on first-time donor, just like you would do that if they're loyal. They would get a different communication. And that might be something that you have around the office, and you pull a list every 3 months and you say, here are all our new donors for these 3 months. And you send them out a postcard, or you send them out a handwritten note from a board member, or you film a video and get it in their hands, you know, however you can make this work. Again, I love a postcard because they're quick, easy, and cost effective. And again, they stand out. So this is my super duper trick for those of you that don't have lots of resources. I don't know about you, but I've run a lot of nonprofit boards, and I've yet to meet a whole board who just loves fundraising. Do any of you have a whole board that just, and doesn't want, and like, they always are like, can we do a golf tournament? Can we do a gala? And I'm like, no, and hard no golf tournaments, you know? And they're like, well, I'm like, a golf tournament is a bake sale without cupcakes, and I can't think of anything worse. So let's not do that, right? And so the boards always want to help you fundraise, but not actually ask for money. So I do board trainings, and I say, you don't have to ask for a dime, but you have to give gratitude. So I teach all my board members. There's this great little book called With Gratitude. You can get it at any bookseller, Amazon, whatever you want. It's written by Jennifer Richwine. And I teach board members how to write a thank you note in case they had forgotten that their mom taught them, you know, some odd years ago. My mom wouldn't let me play with my Christmas presents until I wrote thank you notes. So I am trained. And then I have every board meeting start by having the board of directors write 5 handwritten thank you notes. It gets them settled. It gets them away from the food, right? And it teaches them one of 2 things. Either A, we've got new donors. So sometimes I'll assign them new donors, or B, loyal donors. I never, ever, ever assign them big donors. Never do it. Because the big donors get enough attention and love, and they hear from us all the time. I think about who would really love, who would it be a surprise to hear from a board member? Who would that delight? And so we have them write first-time donors or loyal donors. And again, it's very hard for a board member to tell me they won't write a thank you note, because I just stand there and smile uncomfortably near them until they do it and tell me all the excuses about their handwriting. And I'm like, well, okay, so you don't have to write them. You just multiply your donation by 5, or you can write 5 handwritten thank you notes, and you'd be amazed at how quickly the pens come out, and they're very excited to write those notes. So I am a board manipulator. I am. So, because again, I don't necessarily want my board asking for money. They're not trained to do it. May not be their, they may not be good at it. There's all kinds, but every board member can give gratitude. So sometimes during the holidays, I might have them do a phone-a-thon where they call and thank donors and say thank you again. Sometimes I lubricate that with wine, depending on your kind of board. But everybody needs incentives. So a really great idea, so that you don't have to do all the thanking yourself. You have a staff, it's called a board, get them to help you do that. So a little tip. So this is really good. I love this. This is from Maine Coast Heritage Trust. Again, I wanted to show you the subject line of this was, "This butterfly shows that you're making a difference." And I was like, what? There's a butterfly? And so she found a butterfly. One of the ecologists found a butterfly, and apparently it turned out to be a super rare butterfly. Who knew? And then they link you to the story of the discovery. So they don't give you the 70 paragraph whole story. They give you a short email that says, hey, we want you to know that even if you can't see it, even if you haven't been out to the coast, even if you don't think your gift is making a difference, you're making a difference, even if you can't see it. And I really think that's a powerful message. You could do that and do a before and after photo of land. There's so many things you could do. One of the things they did during Giving Tuesday that I thought was cool is they often will build like natural staircases down to the water, so that it's easier to hike. I'm not a hiker, can you tell? I'm Pilates, I'm not a hiker, but it's easier. So they build in these nice little natural stairs with rocks and wood and everything. And so they showed a bunch of paths that they had done that to on Giving Tuesday. And I thought, that's so that makes the coast accessible for people. And the walk down isn't as steep. So they're doing a really great job of showcasing things large and small that are the before and the after of the work that donors sponsor. So again, just simple little touches that you can do. One of the things they did during quarantine lockdown, and I hope we never have to go back there again, because I don't know that I can eat as much food as I possibly did then again, but is every 2 weeks, they had somebody go out on one of their preserves and just video and audio 2 minutes of like calm, like peace and quiet with the sounds of nature around them. And then they posted it on their YouTube channel, and they had this whole like channel where you could just zone out and be with nature, even though you couldn't be outside at that time. So really interesting ways to use content that they already have. But I love this one because this isn't just gratitude. This is showing an impact that you had. So this impact is there, whether you get to see the blue butterfly or not. So very cool. I didn't even know that nature, it's a light blue, but still it's blue. So our goal is to make all of our donors feel like Roger. Roger has been overserved. No, Roger is one of my favorite donors of all time. He is at UC Davis, and he gives money to scholarships. And we met Roger at an event we were doing for them, again, pre-pandemic. And we asked all the donors to freeze in the pose of how they felt when they gave money away. And this is how Roger feels when he gives money to the university. And so we captured it, we brought it back to him, and I said, Roger, what is the whole Tiger Woods fist pump thing all about, and he was like, it's simple. Every time I give to my scholarship, I go, hot damn, that's another one. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, it's another kid that can go to school every time I put a deposit in my scholarship fund. So hot damn, that makes me happy. And so I have carried Roger's hot damn with me ever since then. And on days when I'm having poop-tastic driving the struggle bus days, I think about Roger and I'm like, inside our donors is a Roger, whether they're preserving land, whether they're feeding the hungry, whether they're giving to scholarships, inside is this joyful person. And I think it's our job to reward that hot damn behavior through gratitude and impact. So I just want to leave you with that before we dive into questions and how I can help you, with the fact that don't forget that giving money not only makes you live longer, right? But also it boosts your serotonin for 3 to 4 weeks. So, it's like taking Molly, but just without the drugs, so I don't know, I don't do drugs, but I hear that's what that's like. So hot damn, what are you going to do? And what's the next step that you're going to take? Now, the good news is there's resources. On the website, there's over 15,000 samples you can download for free. You can steal other people's thank yous. You can steal their impact reports. You can steal their first-time donor, their loyal donors. You just need to change the logo and make the text yours. And it should be an easy way for you to engage. You can reach out on social media or via email, but the resources are there for you. And so my thought is, what is going to be your next step? So, a lot of us go to professional development and we're like, oh, that sounds good, but I'm busy and I don't have time for this. So I want you to think about something you could do in the next 30 or 60 days to help change that path of giving at your organization, that path of retention, to help think about changing expectations and meeting and exceeding those donor expectations. So I'm going to hush. And let me stop the sharing and let's open it up for questions. We have about 10 minutes left. Was this helpful? Did everybody get one nugget? Good. I'm going to email Lauren the slides so that you can nuggetize your slides as well. But what can I help you do?
I had a quick question. First of all, fantastic presentation. Got many nuggets. Not just one. Got like a 16 pack of McNuggets.
All right, let's go for 20.
That was awesome. So you mentioned how early on you talked about how more valuable it is to have recurring gift donors than one-time donors, that it's easier to retain them. Let me ask you a philosophical question. Let's say a donor wants to give you a $120 gift to your organization, wants to give it to you outright, and suggests that they'll do it, every year from now till kingdom come. Instead of saying, thank you very much, that's terrific, you say, our preference is, thank you very much, our preference is that you give that to us in $10 monthly increments, because we'd love to get you on this monthly recurring gift plan.
No, I wouldn't say that. Here's what I would say. So one of two things. So there's two different ways to approach this. So one is to say to the donor, oh, thank you so much for your commitment. Can I go ahead and sign you up so that that hits your card once every year and that we make that recurring for you? So if they want to do the one gift a year, I'm going to set them up as recurring on their credit card for once a year. The other thing I'm going to ask them is, would you consider, so I'm not going to say our preference is that you sign up for recurring, because I'm always going to go with the donor preference. But what I'm going to say is, you could double your impact by giving us $20 a month. That's what I'm going to say to them. Did you know that for the cost of Netflix, you can double your impact and ensure that the land is here to stay? So I'm going to go back to my mission. And Jonathan, I also need to know the donor. right? So if this is a check writing, analog living, traditionalist donor, I'm never going to even bother with the conversation. I'm going to say, that is so generous. I so appreciate it. Thank you so much. If I've got somebody that I'm entertaining a conversation with and we're talking about future and giving, I'm going to find out where their passion area is. Is it clean water? Is it sustainability? And I'm going to try to drive them down that road too, to also say, this could really help our programs in this area. Have you ever considered maybe a sacrificial gift of $20 a month? So I'm never going to pose it as whatever's easiest for us or what we would prefer. I'm going to put it back on them and really put it back into what can have the most impact on the organization. But also I'm going to size up my donor first. I never want to take someone who's giving and give them any barrier to that giving. A giving donor is better than I don't care how they do it, in rupees, and you know what I mean? If they bring me a Crown Royal bag of change, I'll take it. So
Thanks.
as long as it's been legally obtained, of course, and is less than $9,999 US. See, I have to keep myself out of jail. So it's a great question though. It's a great question. But does that mean that every solicitation I send out from your organization is going to have monthly giving as my default? Absolutely. There's no way in hell I'm dropping anything in the mail these days without online giving and recurring giving via credit card being my number one giving option. I'm never going to write you a letter, Jonathan, and ask you for $250. I'm going to ask you for $50 a month. I'm never, ever going to ask you for a single dollar amount. My default ask is always going to be monthly, because that's how people live their lives. And I'm always going to compare that to something in their lives. So like for young alumni at universities, we say, if you give up a latte a month, and you can sponsor books for a student. So I might say to somebody, give up a dinner out or pizza in, you know what I mean, once a month for your family, and you can preserve a whole acre of land or whatever it can do at your organization. And that doesn't restrict the funds. That's just telling them what it could do. So, but I'm very rarely am I ever going to do a single ask ever. I don't ever ask anybody for $1,000 anymore. If I'm going to ask somebody for $1,000, I ask them for $83 a month. Give me one good night out on the town a month and I'll show you what we can do with it. And the no's are far less likely. It's very hard for somebody to get out of, can I have $20 a month? Because I'm like, okay, Disney Plus, I saw you watched Encanto 4 times. I saw that. I saw it. Yeah. So that's how I think, is what can I come, and again, so if I've got 2 retirees, I'm not going to talk to them about Disney Plus, right? I'm going to talk to them about Paramount and Yellowstone, right? But if I've got a mom and she's got 3 young kids, I'm going to talk to her all day about Disney Plus and how doesn't she want the land for her kids to play on and things like that. Whereas they're going to go watch the sunset together. So I've got different pitches for different people, and they're constantly being recalibrated based on every little bit of data that it's all intelligence. So when I learn something about you, I'm like, and I'm rolling it around in my head thinking what would be the best match, because the whole idea of fundraising, if I'm a great fundraiser, it's matching a generous person with an opportunity to give. If I do that matchmaker thing, then they will give and give and give, as long as I'm grateful and tell them what their money did. So that's kind of how I think about that. Other questions, thoughts? Everybody else got nuggets?
Well, Lynn, this has been awesome. Anybody else?
I just wanted to say thank you, because actually this year is our 30th anniversary. So like finding those original people, like when you said you found that lady who gave for 75 years, I'm like, oh, like, I know one of my old board members has a book of like an old, which she took notes of who gave. So I'm like, can you give me that book now?
So cool. How cool would it be if you found out that you had a donor that had been giving all 30 years?
Right, exactly. That's what I'm hoping. I think I have at least one name, so I'm pretty excited about it.
I bet you do. And here's the thing, I'll give you a little bit of hint about anniversaries and birthdays of organizations. The organization cares much more than your donor base does. So don't make it such a big deal. Like, it's cool, but they're not going to give to you double or triple or 30 times or whatever. Like, it's more important to you and your team than it is to your donor base. So the 30-year consecutive donor, that's something to stress, but don't celebrate. It's like kind of throwing your own birthday party. It's kind of awkward and weird. So just letting you know that for organizations, like if it were 100 years, okay, but you know what I mean? Like, just don't lean into that too heavy. I see organizations and they're like, it's our 80th year, we're doing good. And I'm like, okay, so you exist. And unless you can show me the before and after, then there's the reason.
Right. Okay. That's very good. Very good to know.
Before you lean into that, like boards and executive directors love leaning into that really heavily. And I'm like, it's not, you being 30 is not a reason for me to give.
Right. That makes sense.
That's all.
Yeah. No, I liked it from the storytelling aspect for sure. But I
Yes.
understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and like the other thing you could, with a 30, like with those anniversary, those milestones, you could also be like, well, maybe not, let's not do the price of gas right now, but like, here was a loaf of bread, like here was the #1 song. And by the way, 30 years ago was like 1990 something.
I know. It's crazy. 1992.
Yeah. So someone said to me the other day, Madonna's Holiday, Holiday came out closer to World War II than it did today. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go drink now because I have officially, like, I am now an oldie station. Leave me alone, So Jonathan's laughing, but yes, like my parents are 80 and they're like, tell me about an oldie station. So, but yeah, so be careful, you get into the 40s and people will think it's time for you to go. So, well, thank you, Lauren, for having me. I will send you these slides. If you all want to reach out, please feel free to do so, and just be proud of the work that you do and that you're also doing professional development. Everything's a lot right now. So be proud that you're hanging in there and doing the good work that you're doing. And so thank you so much for having me, Lauren.
Appreciate you coming and chatting with us. And again, everyone, awesome materials. Thank you, Lynn. If anybody would like to chat for a few minutes, feel free.
Happy to. Y'all have a good day.